Thank you for coming to the Climate Cafe for Green Hudson. Last month I went to the high school and I met with a group of students who are now part of UNESCO, UNESCO, and they're going to tell us about it. I also met with students from the Environmental Club at the high school, and hopefully we'll hear from them at another Climate Cafe. So this is Adrian Jacobson and Clara Pereira. And there's a third student who's in the program, Miley Montero, but she could not make it tonight.
Hi, I'm Clara Pereira. I'm a senior in high school, and last year I joined Hudson. I'm a resident of Berlin, a new resident of Berlin, but I'm on River Road West, so I'm very close. And we found out about UNESCO, so basically it's a conference in Portugal with multiple schools from different countries, and there's 2 schools in America that go, which is Hudson and Newton. We got selected. It was a process, quite a long process actually. But yes, Adrian, Miley, and I got selected, and we've been working on our project since last year when we joined you guys during that time. And yeah, so.
My name's Adrian Jacobson. I'm also a senior. I go to Hudson, but I live in Clinton, unfortunately. It's one heck of a drive every morning. But, I joined UNESCO because I'm an avid outdoorsman. I hunt, fish, I love to hike, and just seeing some of the effects that we have on many different, not only animal species, but, trees, plants, the water, everything just isn't quite sitting right with me. So I wanted to be able to take part in something bigger to really show my opinion and show what we can do to help solve that.
Along with that, my interest was more legal issues because that's more my passion, but I noticed how companies disregard a lot of things when it comes to that, and it was one of the main objectives when I was applying.
So do you apply as individuals or as a school?
As individuals towards our teacher, she will be representing Hudson, Ms. Paveo, Judy Paveo, and we each apply individually in the school, and then from there, once we're selected, we get processed as those are the people that are going.
So it is a competitive process, and so we're real excited that they're representing Hudson. And there's choices of subjects that you can choose from in the UNESCO program, and they've chosen climate action for this year. And
so maybe it would be helpful if you, just for the group, if you could tell us more about UNESCO.
What they do with
as an organization and where that applies to climate change, because that's not how I know UNESCO.
Okay. Yep, so ours is more of science. It's not, UNESCO like out there, but it's more of young scientists and climate action isn't every year's topic. It changes every year. So last year was peace, and the group did a phenomenal job keeping the whole school part of their project. And this year, like she said, it's climate action and what we can do.
That's to represent mostly our youth and their impact in the conference, so we're going to see a variety from around the world of the youth and how they can apply what they're doing in their community with climate change. So we're working on a project currently involving Hudson High School and Hudson in general, which is.
And what's the project specifically?
So we're currently working on a school-wide pickup. So how that's going is that we're going to have 2 leaf bags. We're going to have a recyclable and a throwaway bag, which Adrian and I were just working on actually. Our hands are all covered in markers. But it's going to be on November 8th?
It's going to be on November 12th. We're going to involve the whole school, attempt to involve the whole school in a campus-wide cleanup, so that way we can not only make our campus visually pleasing, but also clean up the environment around it, because we are trying to hone in our focus on climate action in the ocean. And as most of you, I would hope, know, that the Assabet runs right behind the high school, and the trash that flows through the Assabet eventually connects to the Merrimack River, which is dumped right into the Atlantic Ocean. So our kind of goal is to help stop the trash that ends up in the acid bin. And for some of the recyclable trash, we're going to incorporate that into a big old mural using some of, whether that's cans or Dunkin' cups or styrofoam containers or generally cleaner trash.
Which is why we have the 2 separate bags, and then we can help show our community. Speak up. Yes. We can help show our community how to differentiate what you can recycle and what you can't, which is very important. And then the mural will be kind of like the big project to represent in the conference of like what we did at our community, what we made of it, and the impact that this mural might have.
We have a transfer station
Mm-hmm.
that we take everything over to. The recycling is free,
Mm-hmm.
and they take everything but black plastic.
Yep.
They're, I think, exceptional, and have done exceptional work over the years in what they do. They're also very cheap, which is nice instead of the pickup. But beyond that, they've been here for a long time. I think BPI runs it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think perhaps you would look at, if not working directly with them, then promoting them
Mm-hmm.
as a resource, okay?
Okay.
I don't know what the trash trucks around here do with their quote recyclables. I'm not sure where they go. But I understand it's very easy to separate cans, bottles, glass, or whatever, plastics into 3 bags and take it over to the transfer station once or twice a month with newspapers. They also have a collection for leaves,
Mm-hmm.
bagged leaves, which is free. So you might look to, as a suggestion, start helping to promote that within the community,
Mm-hmm.
because this is something that's very easy to do and doesn't cost any money.
So
Which-
Green Hudson works very closely with the transfer
Okay, I didn't
station.
know, obviously, this is my
Yeah.
first time here.
Raise your hand if you're on the recycling committee.
Okay, sorry, this is.
No,
shooting
that's
from
okay. They
ignorance.
don't know. They
It's
don't.
great you brought it up, and so we can connect you with the information and the person who really kind of spearheads that for Green Hudson with the information, and you could decide to do with it whatever you want, and how to share it within the school or with high school parents, so that would be really great. And the mural project is going to involve other students besides the 3 of you, or is just the 3 of you are going to make the mural?
It's
We haven't quite planned until that moment. So
Okay.
far, we've only gotten to the community day, which is where everyone's going to pick it up. But we're considering that using art classes to maybe communicate with teachers to see if it would be possible if a student could work on a small piece of it, nothing too big, nothing to really impact what they're learning, but to still the community gets a sense of what we're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, I think our plan is going to be, it's not going to be a small mural whatsoever. We're going to recycle some of the mural from last year and they have 2, I think it's either 5x5 or 6x6 sheets of plywood that they put together to make one giant mural. And I think we're going to disassemble that and reuse it to create a very big visual we can either put on display somewhere in the town or somewhere in the school.
And the mural that was made last year
Mhm.
doesn't have anything to do with your project at UNESCO?
No,
Because you're not
that's,
hauling this thing to Portugal,
No,
okay?
oh,
We
thank
just
God.
take a quick little photo and
Yeah, yeah,
display
yeah.
it then.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we said before, each year it's a different theme. So for them, they
And
have
that's
their
the environmental club?
No, we're separate from the environmental club, but we're working on working closely with them because they have a lot of insight as well.
Who made last year's mural?
It was Sofia Oliveira and Lila Chavez.
Chaves. Yeah.
Chaves.
You
They
might have seen it.
graduated.
Yeah. You might have seen it in New City Micro Creamery. It was big and it said peace on it. And it was a bunch of different.
So what was their focus, or
Their
why did they
focus-
make this mural?
Their focus was world peace, so they try to get parts of like our school community to do puzzles, kind of like art and puzzles about what is peace to them, and they made a big mural about that. But again, each theme is picked. There's a lot of them. I think there's 13 when you look at the actual UNESCO website, the big one, which is why they pick each year to do what's the main focus, because there's a lot of problems to focus on.
So we'd be interested in hearing about your feelings about what's happening with climate change in the United States, in the world, how you view it, why you chose climate action to focus on, and what that means to you, and why you want to spend this time working on it. So there's a lot of young people now who are working on climate change across the United States. There's a group called Sunshine, maybe you've heard of them. There's other groups in the United States and in Massachusetts. So we'd be interested in hearing what your feelings are about it, how you see the impacts of it in the United States and in your life.
Yeah. I actually have written about this because I was anticipating questions. So if you guys don't mind, I'm just gonna read it. But I wrote that I think it's a great opportunity to bring awareness to real world issues, and it shows us what we can contribute as a community through these small steps to make a larger impact on a worldwide scale. And I'm interested in participating in UNESCO because I live in a day and age where I'm seeing all these like negative effects of climate change, and I'm worried more about like the future generations to come. What are we expecting for that, and what's going to happen, and the impact is going to be way bigger than we intend. And I feel like UNESCO's it's helpful for me to be part of that change. And I know that I can encourage students like in high school and our high school to be that small step to be that larger step.
So taking some action helps with the sense of disempowerment or futility, or I forget the word that you used, but you were worried about it. So taking action helps combat that feeling of worry. Yeah. I think a lot of grown-ups can relate to that.
So I joined UNESCO because I feel like it could make my voice more amplified, speaking on now a global stage. And usually when adults listen to children, not all of them, but they usually don't take into account what they're saying, just, they don't know what they're talking about, or their opinion doesn't really matter. But I heard this quote from Barack Obama, something along the lines of, this generation's young enough to feel the effects, and it's like the only generation to make a change, or something along those lines. And that really got me thinking, like, we feel it every day. It's 80 degrees in almost November. That shouldn't be happening. So, after I heard that, I figured it's probably time to do something about it.
There's a lot of pressure. It makes me sad
Yeah.
to think that, some of us have tried, but a lot is falling on the next generation.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sorry.
Do you feel like your attitudes, perceptions, concerns about climate change is representative of your peers?
Not always.
Not always, but
Yeah.
this is why we're trying to make that impact, because if students see the same students their age doing this impact, it will definitely persuade them and get them to have more insight on the issue.
Do you feel like your peers aren't aware of climate change?
More like laziness. I feel like people are definitely aware, but they just, not only do they maybe not have the right resources to know how to help, or they just don't want to help.
Yeah.
So last year, the League of Women Voters participated with a statewide effort called Civics Education with the 8th graders around different towns, and they did it here in Hudson with the 8th graders. And they had a show and tell at the high school back in the spring. And there were at least 7 or 8 groups of students, 8th graders, who did posters, and then they had to do a poster on some topic that had to do with civic life in some way. And there were about 8 groups of 3 or 4 students who did posters on climate and climate change, or clean energy in some way, battery storage. They had recycling, different electric school buses, so different topics that had to do with solutions around climate change as well as problems. So that was, to me, hopeful that students even younger than yourselves are engaging in scientific, civic inquiry into climate change and global warming, and what are some of the solutions that they can do about it.
Go ahead.
I was going to ask a specific question about your project.
Mm-hmm.
How will you educate the students about what is and isn't recyclable?
So we have a slideshow that the teachers are going to show. So how it works is every certain Tuesday of the month, we have something called
every second Tuesday of the month, I'm
yeah,
pretty sure.
we have something called a community block, which is you're assigned kind of like a homeroom type thing, and you're always with that group. So that group, usually we have other topics. Usually it's related to college or other things. So we're going to be taking over for that block, and that's when they're going to execute that, the trash pickup. So there's actually a huge slideshow that we're working on for the teachers to show. And I'm currently editing a video we filmed earlier today before this to show. It's going to be like a 2-3 minute video, but it's talking about very important things that we want to highlight for them to understand, and then we're going to explain basically how everything is supposed to go with the bags, and like what is to be in each bag and what isn't, what we're looking for, and why we're looking for it in that video.
Yeah, we're using a lot of visual, so that, because I feel like that's the best way to convey your message is visuals. So throughout the video, we're inserting, oh, this is a picture of bad trash that we are going to throw away into its proper waste bin, and then this is like the reusable, recyclable trash that we can either bring to the transfer station to recycle or use as part of our mural.
And we also explain why we chose the bags that we did. We have like cardboard,
Yeah, like
paper bags.
the paper leaf pickup bags
And
from
like why we
Lowe's.
chose that specifically.
So Adrian and Clara and Miley last spring helped out at Hudson Fest. And under the direction of Jeanette and Tom and Brian, learned about composting. So every year Green Hudson has recycling stations at Hudson Fest down on South Street, 3 or 4 stations. And what did you learn that day?
Oof, we learned a lot. We learned a lot, all right. I think my biggest takeaway was that you can't recycle black plastic. That baffled me, because I thought, oh, it's plastic, it has to be recyclable too, but I guess not.
I think I'm going to go along with Adrian on this one, because our school actually, all the utensils are black plastic, so it was really surprising to hear. But yeah, when I was organizing it, I didn't realize how many things that you couldn't and could compost.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
Do
Or
you,
recycle.
do you have recycling bins in every hallway in your school?
each classroom.
And it's
Each
paper
classroom
only.
has recycling bins?
Yes,
Okay,
it's
good.
recycling.
Yeah, paper only recycling bins.
Oh, paper only?
Just
So what
paper.
about all the,
Right
Is
in the
everything
garbage,
else though in
It's
just in the-
unfortunately going towards the trash.
like the
This is an
landfill.
issue for many years that we've been.
are you kidding me?
Well, one
We
of
used
our
to have it.
yeah. Sorry to interrupt, but
No, you're-
one of our original ideas for our like civil action was to reinstate the bottle recycling. But the issue we brought up was that the paper recycling bins are already run by students themselves, and we thought as a team that if we add another bin, that we'll need another bin outside, and that it's a lot more out of like our reach of power to do.
And it's gonna take a lot more effort, which we don't know if our
Yeah,
students
efforts
are.
within the student body.
Even
Yeah.
with the bottle one or whatever we had before, people would throw the wrong things in all the time, and
Yep.
it was really frustrating for them at the time to keep
Yeah.
managing it.
There's, even though all of our recycling bins are clearly labeled paper only, no bottles, you just look in any classroom, there's gonna be a
Yeah.
Dunkin' cup full of water from the melted ice, or a milk carton, or, you know.
Okay, why isn't they just have slits that you can't put this stuff into?
We
Yeah.
weren't there when they enforced the
Okay,
recycling.
Yeah.
then what you do is you retrofit them with slits.
Mhm.
Get your shop
This
to
is a lot of
retrofit
money.
them.
We don't
with
have a
slits.
shop.
Talk to Aspen.
So
It just seems to
this
me
is an
like it-
issue between whose responsibility is
Yeah.
it? The student's
Right.
responsibility?
No,
or
it
the
Should not be the
parents?
student's
Or the-
administration.
Well,
Just
Right.
for recycling separate? Right. Because
We won't discuss the administration.
It just seems like it would be handled like a household. You just
Right.
throw all your
Exactly.
recycling into a bin, it gets collected into the bin outside where the trash is collected, just like a house.
But then
Just, it's not
but then you have to
rocket
separate.
science.
I don't think it's the kids.
No.
This isn't their, I mean, what they're doing is great work. This is not their problem to solve. I think adults, we're just as guilty. I mean, one of the things I struggle with, and we recycle, it's zero sort, I think, it's so you throw everything in the bin. But then my dilemma is, what happens after the truck comes on Monday and takes takes all this stuff, the recyclables? Then what happens? I think a lot of the laziness is because, for everybody, not
Mhm.
adults, or I was just at a restaurant today and they had black plastic forks. I didn't realize those couldn't be recycled. I think a lot of people are convinced when they see an economic advantage to doing something. So if there's an economic advantage to recycling, I think it's a much easier sell than if you're doing it just because it's the right thing to do, or it's the good thing to do, or it
Mhm.
keeps our rivers clean. There's gotta be an economic, unfortunately, that's how our economy works.
Mhm.
There's gotta be an economic aspect to it as well.
I take, I'm a prospective accounting and finance major, so I'm taking a finance-based math class right now, and that's one of our main topics, is everything comes down to money. No matter what you do, it's all about the money. And it's kind of unfortunate that we think that way in this country.
One of the things I'll bring up, you want to fight the corporations? Years ago, there was an anecdote. The regulation came out, and the first thing the management said to the legal department, how much is it going to cost us to avoid this?
Mhm.
Not comply with it, but to avoid it.
Yeah.
Well,
That's what you're dealing with in corporate cynicism. They will buy off, buy out, or ignore an unenforceable rule
Mhm.
without major corporate litigation, which will stretch for years.
So at the
But I
high
think
school,
Oh, sorry. I think it's good to see this in a context, which is,
Mhm.
I and others of us here work at the transfer station where about 20% of the town brings recycling and sorts it into paper, plastic, metal.
Mhm.
And we work there to help people sort it because people just throw stuff in. Not everybody,
Mhm.
but enough people so that I don't want our students to be lectured to about
No.
how to make things happen. We are struggling to make it happen as a town.
Yep.
And we're doing Hudson Fest to have a place where people learn, here's what you recycle, here's what you compost, here's trash.
Mhm.
But it's not, the students aren't getting support to
Mhm.
do it. It's not easy to work with a whole institution of the school system, right?
Mhm.
So I think it's really good to pick what you can do and do it well, which
Yep.
is what you're doing with paper, right?
Yep.
And, maybe next year you can add, or maybe next semester, or,
Mhm.
add things up slowly,
Yeah.
But do you have a lot of, my question after that little soapbox was, did the students use plastic water bottles or did they use?
Oh, yeah.
Because that might be
That's a big
just,
thing.
that's an educational thing.
I think our main problem with the plastic water bottles is people bring in their reusable water bottles. I personally use a Yeti, people use Stanley's. It doesn't really matter the brand, but then they're refilling their water bottles with plastic water bottles.
Oh, no.
So,
Aren't there water fountains that you
I'm-
good
I'm-
fill-up ones?
unfortunately, the janitors don't really clean the filters in those, so it tastes not
They're
the
exactly
best.
like those ones over
Yeah,
there.
just
Yeah.
like those,
Oh,
and our
exactly.
filters are usually on red, so it's got a very earthy taste to it.
Okay, well, that's better than, we heard it was just they don't like the taste of Hudson water, but it's actually, maybe if they were cleaned,
Yep,
Mhm. And also we sell,
plastic.
sell
bottles.
plastic
Yeah.
water bottles. We have a vending machine of just plastic water.
Wow.
Mhm.
And same with our snack shack.
So you've got plenty to do just with the little bit that you've mentioned so far.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So do you have a time to talk with the superintendent or the principal about your
Um,
efforts? Because they need to support you.
Unfortunately speaking, I'm also part of Spirit Committee, and they don't budge. They're not, you can't persuade them on anything. They sit with their opinion and they leave it.
Yeah.
And what is Spirit?
So Spirit, kind of side topic, Spirit Committee, so we control all the, the pep rallies before football games, or what we do, like Spirit Weeks. So there's themes, like one of our...
Spirit.
Yeah, Spirit.
spirit.
Spirit, yep.
Thank you.
So we have like before, our homecoming football game or our Thanksgiving football game, because everybody knows Hudson and Marlboro. It's a very good football game. We will have what's called like a Spirit Week, and that's where we have about 5 to 7 days of themes for each student to pick from. So one of our themes for our homecoming football game was dress like a teacher day. So we picked like a teacher and dressed just like them. So I dressed up like my math teacher, full button down, tie, glasses, which is fun.
What happened to your grades?
They stay the same,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But no, my math grade is fine. I have a 92. Yeah. But yeah, so we just try to have fun things like that to get the student body engaged.
Yeah.
So
Well-
maybe another venue, another opportunity maybe to show the administration about the UNESCO project might be a place to start.
Yeah.
Or go to the school committee and say, this is what your UNESCO project is, so to ask for some time at the school committee. That's something we could talk to Judy Pavio, their advisor, about. I think that would make a lot of sense.
Just to say something good that did happen recently, I think, is the high school stopped using the styrofoam
Yep.
trays, which was horrifying us to imagine. How many kids are there up there?
Over 800.
Yeah, over 800 now.
May, 800 of those, which have to be thrown away. But somehow that change happened. Do you know anything about why it happened, how it happened?
I'm not sure how it happened, but now we're using paper boats
yeah.
or paper plates, which do decompose very quickly. So I'll eat my lunch and I'll pick it up and there'll be a wet spot.
It's better.
Yep, better than styrofoam.
So someone made that decision.
Yep.
I'd love to know how, because
That's where you go.
I'm sure it's a little more expensive, maybe not much, but that would be neat to know.
Mhm.
What was the
But the
incentive?
question is, what happens with that paper after you're done with it?
Just right in the garbage.
The
Okay, it goes back into a non-decomposable plastic bag
Mhm.
and gets thrown in. And when you go to the transfer station, we don't want pizza boxes.
Yeah, we
So
do.
what?
Now we do.
Yeah, they take pizza
Now
They
bags
do
now.
now? Okay. So we don't get pizza that way. So, what you've done, if you've gone from one thing, well, styrofoam's great, but you're putting in a non-compostable plastic bag.
Mhm.
So it makes no sense. I see.
So you're in a Section 8 catch-22. You're doing the right thing, but it's going nowhere.
Yep.
Well, it's not going nowhere. It's not creating
More
800
waste.
styrofoam trays a day.
Okay, but it's still going into a bag that's going into a landfill.
Right.
It's
And-
not decomposing.
And what
What
we at Green Hudson have had to struggle with, and still I struggle with it all the time, is we can get some things done. And if you decide it's not good enough and there's more to do, that's a good thing if you do it. But if you just criticize, not you personally, I don't mean you, there's always more to do, which is important. But I think it's also important to be aware of what you have accomplished. So maybe next year,
I will not
They're
be
seniors.
here.
They're gone.
Yeah.
They're gone.
but maybe your team.
Yeah.
I mean, there are compostable paper plates,
Yep.
right? And they can go into a compostable bag and go into the compost.
So my question would be, who handles the removal of waste from the high school, from one of our, is that?
means- Well,
Custodians?
yeah, it goes from the custodians to the outside bins, which I'm pretty sure are BP.
BP, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a private collection company that the town hires, and they're recycling single stream. So after that all goes, I set up my bins with all recyclables, and later wherever Hudson's contractor sends that off, that's where they sort.
Mhm.
The big question is, why isn't anything that is recyclable going into one single stream bin? It doesn't have to be segregated. If it's BP that's doing the collection that our tax dollars are paying for, this is not a difficult thing. It's just, nobody at the high school level has to segregate paper from plastic from it, but if it is BP, that single stream is handled way upstream.
I think it comes back to, we were talking about this earlier, the whole money aspect. I think the school is just trying to cut corners where they can, unfortunately so. And one of that's going to be not introducing the recycling bin.
So another project that's something you could pursue yourself along, to talk to, if you wanted to, you could go and talk to the superintendent or go to the school committee and do some investigating and some research on that. The other club, the environmental club, their project that they're working on is, that they started last year, is on food waste. So they're looking at the whole stream of what gets thrown away every day at the high school and trying to educate their fellow students about that. And then do some education around what are some choices that could be made around food waste. So I'm sorry they couldn't be here tonight, but maybe in a future Climate Cafe they could talk about it. So there is some education going on about, from the other end of the process of, before the styrofoam trays, now the cardboard trays, but what else is going on in terms of food and food waste at the high school. We're also doing some surveying because of Lisa and her work on plastic reduction and styrofoam reduction, investigating what is going on at all the schools, what they are using, what they're not using, and we're gathering data around that, and for the project that we're working on that. And if you're interested in that and helping out, we'd love to have you help out on that.
I would like to credit your work with the styrofoam ban, because oftentimes we'll go to Market Basket and get, either like a pizza or an ice cream, because it's really cheap still, thank God. And everything comes in the styrofoam cups or styrofoam plates. And we're worried about the schools. I think we should be worried about the Market Basket.
Absolutely.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, well, May town meeting.
Yeah, I just like, as I point that out.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, and that will need.
That'll need a lot of
all the
work,
young
but-
people and their parents and everybody
Mhm.
too.
So were there other things from Hudson Fest, where we started this conversation, other things that you learned in addition to black plastic?
Like I said, the sorting. I
Mhm.
always understood composting with like the food thing, but I never understood I don't know, I never really had the chance to learn about recycling, so I guess that gave me that insight, which I'm now
Yeah.
putting out.
Yep, it's always been that mainstream, just, it's plastic, it's glass, right in the bin. But now that I, understand that some stuff just ruins the whole batch,
Yeah.
it's kind of ruins it.
Yeah. Well, that's why we have volunteers
Mhm.
at the transfer station, so
Yep.
that we actually get all of our stuff recycled,
Mhm.
including styrofoam and plastic, that a lot of towns can't get recycled because it's not clean.
Mhm.
And the fact that we have people kind of cleaning up some of the recycled things.
Mhm.
It makes it better. So there are things to do. You just can't do it all.
Yep.
And I mean, I don't want you to get discouraged.
Mhm.
How do you keep from getting discouraged?
I think, climate change in general is just such a big topic, like there's always so many ways we can go. I think that was our first when we sat down, we had no direction at first,
Mhm.
but I think just seeing how small steps could change our community, because we saw it with the Pieces of Peace last year. I think that is what inspires us as a UNESCO team, and we want to keep bringing that inspiration to not be discouraged, because like I said earlier, the small steps can make a big impact, and it's our generation, it's going to be our future, so.
I like the whole inspiration thing. The environmental club did hold a campus cleanup last year, but it was only the sports teams, and that wielded a fantastic turnout with the sheer volume that we cleaned up from the campus. So one of the things I was thinking about was, what if we involve everybody and give them enough time to really sweep the entire campus and not just part? Because we only had about, I want to say, 100 to 150 turnout, and if we have 800 plus turnout, that we can really, really hone it down and
Yeah.
have a great
Yeah,
time.
and you could ask townspeople, you could, just like we try and ask you to come to Hudson Fest or
Yep.
whatever, you could ask townspeople to come and help and support, because it's mutual education, and they might listen to you more than they listen to
Yeah.
us.
Unfortunately, I would love to do that, love to get everybody involved, but like I said, the administration doesn't really budge, so they're going to see that as a safety concern.
Oh, yeah, of course,
Yeah.
that.
Your adults have to be quarried.
I forgot that, yeah.
Yeah.
Never
Yeah.
mind with that one.
Maybe if it was an outside of school event, outside after 2:03, we could do it, but
203.
we would
Yeah.
not get 800 people.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
What, is there any way to sort of get a sense of how you've raised awareness? Like, will there be any kind of survey or?
So we have Miley created something called it's called like a Padlet. So on our slideshow, everyone from the community is supposed to submit photos and everything, and then that we will incorporate with our slideshow for the conference in January. But that just shows us a little, like just a small insight of like how everyone was doing it and how everyone felt about it, and then in the future when we're creating the mural, I'm sure that we can get way more seeing the impacts of it.
also, kind of based off what she said with the slideshow, we're also going to publish, every week we publish a video called Friday Morning Lights, and it's just like basically a 10-minute little school-wide news station that we all watch every morning, and we were going to plan to put a little video together of those pictures and maybe videos that people submitted to show this is what we did. And we're working with the janitors very closely to create like a central location to put all the garbage. And once we get that picture of all, I think we're gonna do 90 bags total. Once we get that all in a central location and show what people accomplished, it'll be like, wow, as a community we did something.
And also for the Friday Morning, we already started like clips. We noticed that to appeal to a younger audience, we need to be more interactive and funny. So we got even our principal involved, and we kind of did like a quiz or like true or false with climate facts. So we're looking forward for that Friday Morning Lights. But along with the bags, we were gonna ask if there was any connections that you guys could provide us. We were trying to get donations for bags, and we just need about 10 left.
Yeah, 10
and
bags.
We also need
Recycle, like disposable hand gloves, because
Yes.
we're going to encourage people to bring gardening gloves, but no, not everybody's going to bring gardening gloves.
Yes, and then we want everyone to participate, so we're scared that someone might be like, oh, I don't have my gloves, I'm not gonna even look towards this thing.
So we actually have a bunch of our tossable gloves that we've had for that we've used at Hudson Fest. So I think that I should dig through all of the stuff that we have for Hudson Fest, and I can bring them and figure out some way to get them to you.
That would be
What about
great.
bags, Tom? Are there
Yeah.
any more, do we have extra bags?
Oh, we have We have hundreds of paper bags.
The paper bags we
Yeah.
Isn't
have.
that what you want?
Yeah,
Yes,
only
we just
about,
need 10.
Yeah, we just need about 10 of
Oh,
them.
you want the real big ones, the Lowe's kind, these are the smaller, you know, they're, the ones with
Grocery store.
handles on them that
Grocery
we've
store
got.
size?
Yeah, grocery store.
Oh.
They're bigger than
Mm.
grocery store, they're like but they're not the leaf bags.
Yeah, anything really
Yeah.
helps.
Okay,
Just so that
well,
way I don't have to go out and spend money.
Are
We got you covered
you
there.
in the Rotaract Club at the high school? You know what that is? It's a Rotary club for your age group.
I am not.
I haven't
Okay.
heard of that.
Anyway, if you ever need support and resources,
Mhm.
the Rotary Club has funds that
Mhm.
they can allocate, so.
Good to know.
Look
Yeah.
it up on the website, they'll help you out.
Thank you.
So when do you need the 10 bags?
Pretty much ASAP.
As soon as possible, yes, because
Yep.
we will have the cleanup on November 12th.
And our
So
deadline is
anytime
the
before then, yes, deadline is the 8th to get
So
those
like
bags.
the yard waste ones?
Yes.
Yeah, we have our majority is the ones from Lowe's,
Mhm.
the big ones, but literally anything helps. It can be smaller, it can be bigger.
Yep, and we've been decorating them so that we put UNESCO at the top and a little quote from somebody speaking about climate change. And then we're gonna plan to put our flyer on a few of them, just toss it out there.
Mhm.
And that has a bunch of information from a QR code. I might have the flyer in my car if anybody wants to see it.
Great.
So you said the conference is in January?
Yes,
And where are you going?
Portugal.
Portugal.
Whoa.
Mhm.
And did I hear you right that it was Hudson and Newton? Is that
Mhm.
it for the whole country?
Yes.
That's unbelievable.
So
8
we're
students.
one of 8 students out of
Out of 50, so it's not like a state by state thing, like
No.
each state?
it's us 8
Country by country.
You're gonna represent the whole
Wow.
United States.
We go through a pretty rigorous application, process. So we have our initial interview, and then
Bunch of questions.
a bunch of questions via like a Google form that we have to answer, and then after that, we have another interview, and then after that, we pick.
Edit a video.
Edit a video of us presenting a book we would like to read based on the topic. So this year, if you guys like to read the book we read over the summer, it was The Great Derangement. I liked it personally. It was very textbook-like, but some of the stories that the author was telling was really, really interesting. I listened to it on Audible, and the person who read it was very talented at what he does. So it
And
was,
who pays for your trip?
we do.
We do.
Unfortunately,
You're
But
gonna do fundraiser for that?
we're looking into getting donations.
Mhm.
We haven't really discussed it, unfortunately, but
Yeah.
we're getting to it slowly
yeah,
because it's not the cheapest trip ever, but
no, not one bit.
we're trying.
And how long will you be there?
2 weeks.
Yeah, like
2
thir-
weeks?
13
Wow.
days, and we present. We go all over the country, but specifically the presentations in Lisbon, right? Yep. So we're gonna go to Lisbon for 4 days, and I think the conference is 3 days long.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly which places, but we know Lisbon is one.
Yeah, because that's where we gotta present. But we go to the Azores too. That's our first stop, and I'm pretty sure we spend a whole week there. So it's not just for the conference. We're also going for like a full. I like to call it a full cultural experience because we're going everywhere.
And we're immersing ourselves in other countries.
Mhm. And personally, I've never left the country, so I'm really looking forward to this trip.
Ah, so you have your passport, right?
I did, yes.
Because it doesn't happen fast.
No, I got it expedited and everything.
So maybe you can come back in June,
Mhm.
when you finish the trip, and you can come and
Yeah,
tell
that'd
us.
be great.
and show-
Oh yeah, I personally would love to come back again.
Yeah.
And tell us about the conference, what you learned about what other high school students are doing in other
Mhm.
countries.
It could even be before June. I'm sure that.
Or January.
Yeah.
Yeah, we come before, we come after.
I need to-
Because you guys are graduating, right? So you
We graduate in May.
Yeah, so forget about June.
We'll invite you for May.
That'd be
Yeah.
great. That would be.
So you can tell us what the Newton students are doing, and do you
Mhm.
have any contact with them during the year, or
We
before
just-
January?
We had one meeting last year,
Mhm.
just to get an introduction type of thing. And then today we have like a little group chat we don't really text on, but today we like asked their updates. They haven't responded yet, but they will, hopefully. And then we'll get more of an insight on what they're working on. And then we have a meeting,
November 16th.
yes, and then we'll be coming here in Hudson, so we'll get to talk and share.
Is this Newton North or Newton South?
I think it's South.
I'm pretty sure it's in South, yes.
Is your interest in environmentalism just something that you picked up and learned about just on your own, or is there some curriculum support that kind of prompted your awareness of the issues?
I kind of learned it on my own. Like I said earlier, I'm a big outdoorsman. And one of the things I noticed the most is that our ocean water is so extremely hot, and it's affecting like a lot of the fish species that I go for. I can't catch anymore, or it makes it very extreme to find. And personally, a lot of those populations of game that I like to go for, I'd like to be able to show my kids, and where it's heading right now, it's all going to be gone. It's all going to be gone.
And for me, I think I only heard about UNESCO when I came to Hudson junior year, and I think that when I saw the theme for that year, I think that's what really strived me to be more interested, because me personally, I like to challenge myself on new topics, so it was very, very insightful. This whole process, I'm learning so much, and I think that's what made me really interested, was myself.
I also like to, like she said, I'm learning a lot more about myself, because I'm really, with my scheduled classes, this is not a class whatsoever. It's like a second sport, because I also play football. So it's really testing my time management and skills that I needed to pick up, because I tend to procrastinate pretty bad, and this is teaching me that that's not always a good thing to do.
Does Hudson require a senior project for its students?
I think it requires a high school project on a...
Yep, so we're not doing this anymore, but we did require what's called a CAP project, a civil action project. I did mine. And every student, in order to graduate, has to do that, but I'm pretty sure they changed it so it's optional.
That's too bad.
Yeah, unfortunately, they changed it after I did mine. So the countless hours I spent writing an essay about price gouging went to waste, but
Oh, don't say it. Just
So,
say
yeah,
it.
it's a very current topic.
Today,
Yeah.
if it
It's
had
very
been-
current.
yeah.
You can go work for Kamala.
She talks about price gouging,
Yeah.
So I see it's 5 to 8, usually a 7 to 8 cafe tonight. Any last questions for our guests, or any questions about Green Hudson?
Just a question, have you read Braiding Sweetgrass?
I have not.
No,
Have you heard of that book? It
I
was
have.
written by a Native American woman.
I have not.
It's been on the bestseller top 10 for more than a year, because I read it more than a year ago. Very scientific, very insightful. She writes it a lot from a Native American point of view, but what she has seen, what her people have seen. But at the end, the bottom line is, we can't reverse it, but we can stop it.
That, like I said, we're putting quotes on every bag, and that's, I think there might have been a quote, something similar to that. Yeah.
Wow, it's wonderful what you're doing. We hope you'll use us for a resource.
Oh, for
Oh, we
sure.
will, yeah.